Some things in real life are so amazing that they make you go back to check them out and question if they really happened. From epic fails to heists gone wrong, join us as we show you 15 moments you wouldn't believe if they hadn't been recorded. Número 15. Number 15, shame referent. Luxury televisions with their crystal clear screens and high price tags are highly coveted items for many consumers. However, these prized electronic devices can quickly become objects of disaster when tampered with by the clumsy and unwary buyer. The chaotic events unfolded on an ordinary day in a large appliance store in the south of England. A hapless Englishman walked in unaware of the destruction he would soon inadvertently cause by nonchalantly leaning over to inspect a state-of-the-art widescreen television catastrophe. With lightning speed, in mere moments, his seemingly harmless movement triggered a nightmarish domino effect, sending not just one, but two televisions crashing to the floor in a spectacular avalanche of broken glass and electronics. Two more televisions came crashing down in an agonizing crescendo of destruction. When the dust finally settled, this one-man hurricane of clumsiness had managed to completely annihilate nearly €550 worth of high-end televisions. Surveillance camera footage of the incident shows the man frozen in utter disbelief, hands clutching his head as he stares at the wreckage around him. A staff member rushes over, visibly dumbfounded by the epic destruction caused by a single consumer. The video ends with the employee shaking his head in overwhelmed dismay at the astronomical carelessness on display, no doubt contemplating the enormous sum he now owes the store. Number 14. The craziest tree felling. If you ever find yourself in the situation of having to fell a tree with only a chainsaw and a ladder, you will surely ask yourself, how should I set up that ladder? The answer, of course, must take into account safety considerations and a bit of physics. However, there is one individual whose approach to this challenge is completely unique. His plan is to climb to the top of the ladder, chainsaw running, without any protective gear, and lean the ladder against the very tree he intends to fell. To add excitement to the affair, there is also a rope on the tree that pulls in the wrong direction. One can't help but wonder if this man possesses some sort of secret genius or hidden ability that allows him to successfully accomplish this task. Perhaps the individual in question thought that the lower part of the tree would fall to the ground, while the upper part would remain in its original position. Did he not anticipate the possible consequences of his actions? Or perhaps he intended to deliberately defy the force of gravity as he rapidly descended a ladder with a chainsaw in his hands. Surprisingly, he emerged unscathed from this daring undertaking. However, when contemplating this peculiar cutting strategy, one cannot help but wonder how he managed to survive long enough to attempt such a daring feat. Number 13. Mirror in the elevator. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought to yourself, is that the best you have? For most of us, our reflections are friendly faces, but some treat them as literal rivals. This competitive spirit once got a tired man on his way home from a shopping trip into trouble. But at least it wasn't him who challenged his reflection to a boxing match. Exhausted, he thought about taking the elevator to his apartment, but upon entering, he noticed that there was an iron bar wedged between the mirror and the wall, obstructing the buttons, so he opted to dislodge it for easier access. This innocent decision would soon prove dangerous. Little did he know that moments before, two mischievous young men had been playfully boxing with their reflections, treating the mirror like an unsuspecting opponent. After a few headbutts and punches, the mirror had finally decided to fight back. Its self-esteem must have been shattered. To keep it from falling, they skillfully used the bar to prop the glass upright. So our weary man unwittingly entered an arena of shattered boxing dreams, where the mirrors had learned to cast shadow and the glass was anything but friendly. As soon as he removed the clamp, the mirror came crashing down around him. According to reports, some falling shards stabbed his body, leaving him with serious injuries. Surely he would have questioned his decision to enter the elevator that day. Remember, folks, even in the battle of the reflections, it's best to keep your metaphorical punches and your mirrors intact. Number 12. The jewelry heist. In Thailand, a brazen man entered a jewelry store with devious intentions, posing as a potential buyer. To fool the owner, his real goal was to orchestrate a daring heist. Using a deceptive ruse, he asked to examine numerous glittering treasures, feigning interest in acquiring a piece. After scrutinizing the wares, he selected a dazzling gold chain. Seizing the moment, he placed the necklace around his neck as if to try it on. Then, in the midst of the distraction, he hurried toward the exit, striving to escape with his golden prize. But his daring escape plan would run into an unexpected obstacle. The door was locked. Trapped by his own deception, the false buyer was forced to scurry back to the counter in panic and embarrassment. Returning the stolen jewelry to his humiliation, the bungling thief now found himself confined to the very store he intended to loot, his ill-conceived ploy having failed miserably. Shortly thereafter, the authorities arrived. Responding to the owner's alert and quickly apprehending the offender, this hapless thief learned the hard way that grand larceny requires more foresight than he possessed. He entered the gleaming store, taking an easy hit for granted, only to have his display of shortcuts and sleight of hand end in embarrassment. Outmaneuvered by something as simple as a locked door, he was now caught red-handed, destined for the inside of a cell rather than a clean getaway. Number 11. Child versus sculpture. Children are meant to be naughty, but when surrounded by fragile sculptures, to leave them unattended is only asking for trouble. As sweet as your child is, don't make this mistake. Keep a close eye on little ones when they are around artwork and valuables, especially if they don't belong to you. Just ask the parents. Slapped with a $132,000 bill after their 5-year-old son knocked over a glass statue at a community center, the boy was briefly left alone at an event when his curiosity got the better of him. Upon seeing a glittering glass sculpture, he reached out to touch it, causing the delicate piece to crash to the ground. The shattered work was a one-of-a-kind creation by artist Bill Lyons, valued at over $100,000. Needless to say, the parents were stunned when the insurance company charged them with negligence for not watching their son. While all children have moments of mischief, you can't blame a preschooler for hugging an unprotected objet d'art. At their eye level, the sculpture should have been cordoned off or placed out of their reach. If so, fragile. Still, the parents were left shouldering their child's costly mistake. The bottom line is clear. Children plus fragile valuables equals a recipe for disaster. When attending public events with valuable works of art or antiques, keep an eye on these little hands. Number 10. Ghost on the bus. Being a bus driver isn't easy. Between navigating traffic and dealing with strange commuters, you never know what each day will bring. For one Singaporean bus driver, his shift took a paranormal turn that shook him to the core. In a chilling video, the driver reviews CCTV footage from moments earlier. Pointing at the screen, he notices a mysterious figure sitting on the top deck of the bus. Intrigued by what he has just witnessed, he decides to investigate further, camera in hand, only to find an unexpected surprise. The upper deck completely empty, and no trace of the mysterious figure captured on the footage. Rational explanations seem to elude him, leaving him with numerous questions. Was it really a spirit playing some kind of trick, or simply a technical glitch that played a trick on him? Whatever the answer, this unsettling encounter certainly left him shocked and pondering the unexplainable. Most drivers expect outbursts from rude passengers, not ghosts in the aisles. This chilling scene is a reminder that ghosts can happen anywhere, even aboard an ordinary commuter bus. Skeptics may scoff, but try explaining this passenger who vanished into thin air to this stunned driver. Ghost or not, it was a bus ride he'll never forget. Number 9. Bear encounter. Venturing into the wilderness domains carries inherent risks. National parks may look like playgrounds, but make no mistake, these lands belong to the wilderness, not to us. Forget this cardinal rule and you could end up maimed or worse. Just ask the mountain bikers who were nearly mauled by a bear in a close encounter. Imagine cycling along peacefully when a huge grizzly bear appears coming out of the trees in attack mode. This nightmare scenario recently happened to 2 cyclists. A few feet away, the grizzlies stopped dead in their tracks, leaving the trembling cyclists to pedal away relieved. Talk about dancing with death. The friends escaped unharmed. But had the bears continued their predatory pursuit, things could have ended in tragedy. As cute as the bears look, their sheer size and strength are no match for any human. A charging grizzly bear is not a selfie opportunity. Although the great outdoors beckons our exploration, we must venture out aware that these lands belong to the wilderness. Tread cautiously, and you may survive to tell the tale. Number 8. Wind against the wind. Have you ever wondered what would happen to a windmill if the wind started blowing madly fast? Well, the poor people of Hornslet, Denmark, found the answer to this question when a turbine imploded like a deadly pinwheel. These things are huge. The rotor alone was 43 meters wide, perched 44 and 3 meters high on a towering steel pole. But even that colossal structure could not withstand Mother Nature's fury that fateful day. The turbine was equipped with braking systems and safety devices to prevent accidents in case of strong winds. Unfortunately, however, they failed catastrophically when put to the ultimate test. After a brake failure, technicians were frantically called in to fix the runaway rotor before disaster struck. But the screaming winds continued to gain strength, and the turbine continued to accelerate out of control. The technicians tried everything to slow the droning beast, but it was too late. The forces were too strong. Then came the sickening sound of screeching metal giving way as the huge spinning blades disintegrated. In a hilarious twist, the crippled rotor continued to spin, but the top half of the pole snapped clean off, sending the colossal structure crashing to the ground. Nevertheless, the turbine's unwavering determination to harness as much energy as possible is truly remarkable. That bad boy knew it couldn't stop and decided to go all the way. Imagine how much electricity it generated before giving up. It was certainly a noble sacrifice. Number 7. The iceberg. Icebergs are magnificent, treacherous titans that can go from majestic to murderous in a matter of seconds. The Titanic learned this lesson the hard way, and now 2 intrepid Arctic explorers nearly met the same icy end after climbing the wrong iceberg. Clearly, these icy behemoths demand caution and respect. Tell that to adventure junkies Mike Horn and Fred Rue, who threw caution to the wind with near-fatal results. Sailing around the Arctic Circle, the pair decided to show off their climbing skills by ascending a nearby iceberg. But as we all know, pride comes before a fall. With their gear up on the iceberg, they made a run for it, at first oblivious to the impending danger. But physics was not on their side that day, and the iceberg became increasingly unbalanced. Suddenly, it began to tilt slowly, like a doomed ship aground. The explorers scrambled, trying to avoid catastrophe. But in the end, gravity won. In a heart-stopping instant, the iceberg capsized completely, plunging the hapless climbers into the icy sea. Luck was the only thing that saved them from being crushed by the huge spinning ice cube. Swept by the waves, the humiliated explorers narrowly avoided a chilling death. Even seasoned professionals make mistakes, and the unforgiving Arctic Horn admit later that, out there, even the most majestic chunk of ice can become your worst enemy in a matter of seconds. Number 6. Animals intense. A horse enters a bar, but before the bartender can ask why such a long face, this spirited steed starts galloping, causing patrons to flee for cover. The amazing incident occurred at a sports bar in Chantilly, France, when an escaped racehorse charged in, knocking over furniture left and right. In surveillance footage, stunned patrons can be seen running for the exit as the wildly out-of-place horse winks and trots through the bar. Apparently, the horse had left its rider at some nearby stables and decided to come on foot for a drink. Talk about a wild entrance. Fortunately, no one was injured by the rampaging rampage, although the bar suffered some property damage. The handler admitted that this horse had a habit of bolting, but walking straight into a bar was exceptional, even for this unruly Filipino. In another equally bizarre case, a cow was caught on video rushing into a cell phone store and smashing the counter. Perhaps she wanted to check the prices of the new iPhone 15. One can only imagine what motivated her to enter while the clerk looked on in utter disbelief. Bars and mobile stores should be for the people, not the petting zoo. At least no one was seriously injured in either case. Imagine having to explain those insurance claims. Number 5. Octopus slap. A kayaker testing his shiny new camera off the coast of New Zealand. Little does he know he's about to capture what could be the biggest photobomb in history. In walks a hungry seal, face stuffed with an octopus still squirming fresh from the sea. In a split second, the seal turns and deploys its cephalopod cannon, delivering a full-blown octoslap right on the kayaker's head. Needless to say, shock and hilarity ensue. The kayaker is stunned, probably wondering if he's hallucinated the whole thing. Marine biology professor Rochelle Constantine confirms that this seal was not looking for meat, but for its next meal. Apparently, it is not uncommon for seals to tear off octopus tentacles one by one before devouring the rest. This guy just happened to be at a safe distance during the tenderizing time. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, while it was just another day of hunting for the seal, it will certainly be a once-in-a-lifetime story for the kayaker. I mean, how many people can say they were slapped by an octopus in midair? It's comedy gold. Talk about getting close to marine wildlife. After this attack, we bet the kayaker will think twice before floating too close to a hungry-looking seal again. Who needs guns when you have octopuses? Certainly not this seal, which turned its prey into the perfect projectile. Number 4. The car jumps over the dog. You may have heard the legend that cats have 9 lives. Watching them get into troublesome mischief and emerge unscathed reinforces that legend. But what about man's best friend, the dog? While not as mythical, this dog proved his endurance after a near-death experience with a speeding Mitsubishi Evo. As the roar of the engine approached, this black and white dog sped up his leisurely stroll to a trot, probably sensing danger. However, his trot was no match for the rally car that rounded the corner at full speed with the unconscious puppy dead in its sights. The car hit a speed bump and launched into the air, flying just over the dog's head as onlookers cheered. Although the risky maneuver could have ended tragically, the dog escaped without injury, happily continuing his stroll as if nothing had happened. Considering the incredible luck of this near miss, this dog should buy some lottery tickets. He would certainly be a rich dog. That's right. The alignment of timing and physics that allowed both the car and the canine to walk away unscathed was extraordinarily fortunate. The dog looked to the right before trotting faster. The car jumped at precisely the right point to clear the puppy's head. Small variables that meant the difference between life and death. Number 3. Fight at the gas station. They say desperate times call for desperate measures, but spraying muggers with flammable fuel may be taking things too far. Choosing the wrong target can turn a sticky situation into a downright explosive one. The events unfolded at a gas station in Chile. Captured by security cameras, the images show a driver in the middle of refueling his car when a van screeches. 3 shadowy figures jump out of it, clearly intending to steal. Faced with this dangerous scenario, the savvy driver grabs his gasoline gun and shoots a torrential stream at the would-be thieves. Surprised by the impromptu shower of fuel, the dripping thieves make a hasty retreat back to their van. But this reaction could have triggered a calamity. Gasoline is wildly flammable, and the slightest source of ignition could have triggered an inferno. If a thief had blown smoke, the entire station could have exploded in a fireball. The driver's split second. The impulse could have inadvertently turned a routine robbery into a raging conflagration, endangering countless lives. So while it's natural to reach for whatever is at hand in self-defense, flooding bandits with gasoline crosses a dangerous line with presence of mind. It is possible that the driver realized that the robust vapor of the fuel alone could have deterred the thieves without resorting to tampering with it directly, and succeeded as well. But sometimes the most effective weapons are non-lethal and non-combustible. Number 2. Sheep walking in circles. Mysterious circles seem to compel certain animals. Sheep in China recently joined this puzzling phenomenon when a flock was caught on camera walking in a continuous loop for nearly 2 weeks straight. The hypnotic spinning began on a farm in Inner Mongolia. In the videos, we can see the woolly parade circling around a pen, with the bewildered sheep in the center, watching the spinning masses orbiting around them. What would make a flock spin endlessly like woolly dervishes? According to experts, the repetitive behavior is likely due to stress. The sheep may have become restless and anxious after being cooped up in the cramped pen for too long. Looking for a way out, they started marching in procession. Once a few sheep began to circle, the rest joined in, keeping pace with the flock. Unfortunately, their monotonous march reflected poor conditions rather than some supernatural cause. Other theories blamed bacterial infections that can disorient animals. But the most logical explanation lies with frustrated sheep confined too long in a pen not designed for continuous grazing. Although the hypnotic spiral motion continues to captivate the public on the internet, the reality appears to be much more mundane. Once again, science demystifies a peculiar phenomenon and places the blame on mankind's inhumane treatment of animals. Perhaps those sheep were trying to send the message that they deserve better care. Number 1. Shaky stadium. Soccer fans can literally make stadiums shake, but when the stands start to crack, it's a sign of disaster. As the images from La Bombonera Stadium reveal, passionate fans combined with aging infrastructure create dangerous conditions. La Bombonera, the iconic home of Argentine club Boca Juniors, has long provided one of the most electric atmospheres in soccer. However, some clips show the troubling deterioration of the venue. In one video, a huge crack can be seen splitting the stands beneath the frenzied fans. The crack visibly expands under their stomping feet as they jump and chant. In another clip, the upper deck appears to bounce as it bounces the entire stadium. Although the Bombonera boasts an illustrious heritage dating back to 1940, its infrastructure now appears in dire straits. Decades of passionate fans have shaken the foundations to their limits. Immediate action must be taken to prevent future incidents and ensure the safety of spectators. Passionate crowds and decrepit stands are a recipe for disaster. While the beautiful game should be full of sound and joy, those cheers can quickly turn to chaos if the stands collapse. They must ensure the beauty and sturdiness of this prestigious stadium for generations to come. Thanks for watching and see you next time.